Episode 43 of the Bleach 1000-Year Blood War anime has just released, bringing this opening stretch of the final cour to a close, and it certainly saved a lot of its biggest moments for last. This episode, titled Blood for My Bone, draws from a wide spread of material, primarily chapters 666 to 668 and 674 to 675, along with some backfilled content from chapters 658 and 659. Interestingly though, only 3 chapters worth of actual manga content is adapted here, with the rest of the episode given over to a staggering amount of anime exclusive editions. This was easily the most original heavy episode of the course so far, opening with Kenpachi bursting free from Mayuri's healing capsule before handing Orihime an entire anime original fight sequence against Yhwach. From there, the episode weaves together the battles of Ichigo, Uryu, and the captains against Gerard, all whilst dropping some of the most significant lore of the entire arc surrounding Ichibei. As the third episode of Cour 4, this one truly goes all out, and there's so much for us to break down. So be sure to stick around to the very end of the video, as I will be going over all of the incredible staff who worked on this week's episode of Bleach, as well as sharing my thoughts and expectations for where the story heads next. So without further delay, let's dive into my review and analysis of 1000-Year Blood War episode 43, Blood for My Bone. This episode wastes little time, opening with Kenpachi finally bursting free from Mayuri's healing capsule, before immediately throwing us into one of the biggest surprises of the episode, an entire anime original fight sequence between Orihime and Yhwach. Orihime holds the line by herself for a solid couple of minutes, defending Ichigo with Santen Keshun whilst pushing back against Yhwach's Black Reiatsu, only for the Quincy Emperor to reveal that the same powers flowing within Ichigo flow within him, meaning he unconsciously accepts his attacks. Orihime, undeterred, stands firm and unleashes Tsubaki in a defiant strike, declaring that she will protect Ichigo no matter what. It's an incredible expansion of a role that was almost non-existent in the manga, and Orihime continues to be one of the biggest winners of Cour 4. Speaking of wins, the episode then begins to interweave the battles of Ichigo against Yhwach and Uryu against Hashward, with the dialogue between the two fights directly linked in a really clever way. Hashward continues to wield his brand new almighty form, tormenting Uryu with the Black Reiatsu of the Soul King, while reminding him that killing Yhwach would condemn the world to its end. What I loved the most here is how both battles mirror one another, culminating in the fantastic moment where Uryu and Ichigo each deliver the exact same so what response to the idea of the world crumbling, with Uryu even admitting he simply knew that is what Kurosaki would say. It is a brilliant piece of writing that ties these two rivals together across completely separate rooms. This all leads into what is comfortably the most significant lore drop of the episode. As Yhwach reveals the truth about Ichibei Hyosebe, we learn that black is the color of chaos and the very spiritual pressure of the Soul King itself, and that Ichibei is the one who commands it. Most shocking of all, Yhwach exposes Ichibei's true intent to install Ichigo as the next Soul King, reducing him to a figurehead whose sole purpose is to preserve a world with the Shinigami at its summit. This is paired with a chilling anime original scene of Ichibei stood before the blood oath seals of the Zero Division, drawing a black salamander from his ink and drinking it down whilst quietly apologizing to himself. It adds a genuinely sinister new layer to a character that felt like the manga had simply cast aside, and honestly I cannot wait to see where the rest of these additions involving Ichibei go. After Ichigo brushes off this bombshell and lands a strike across Yhwach's shoulder, giving us the episode's title card, his battle against the Quincy Emperor only just escalates. We get another lengthy anime exclusive exchange as Ichigo darts around Yhwach at blinding speed. It's so fast that even Orihime admits that she can no longer follow his movements. And this is before Yhwach overwhelms Ichigo once again. All of this builds up to the moment that we've all been waiting for, as Ichigo unveils his Horn of Salvation form, marking the furthest point into the manga that the anime has reached so far. Interestingly though, the anime holds back from showing us much of the form itself, cutting away before we truly see it in action, which only makes me even more eager for next week's episode. Running alongside all of this is the fight against Gerard Valkyrie. This is where the anime finally hands the Vizards their expanded assault, Shinji inverts Gerard's senses whilst the entire group unload on him with a combined rainbow of Seros, and whilst it was great to see them all in action at last, much like the manga it ultimately amounts to very little, as Gerard shrugs the whole thing off and wipes them out with a single swing. I did find myself wishing that they had been given a bit more to show for their big moment. From there, Kenpachi arrives to sever Gerard's arm with ease as Byakuya and Hitsugaya enter the fold, and I loved the lighter back and forth between Hitsugaya and Byakuya as they grudgingly team up. They land a combined strike that chips Gerard's blade, as all three of them, Kenpachi, Byakuya and Hitsugaya, are wounded in the process. The episode closes on Gerard laughing in their faces as another one of Hitsugaya's ice petals melts away, with 2 of the 12 now gone. As for the pacing, this was comfortably the most ambitious juggling act of Cour 4, constantly weaving between 3 separate battles without ever losing our attention, which is a real credit to the direction and storyboard. It was a relentless lore-heavy episode that capped off this opening stretch of the final Cour in spectacular fashion, and I could not have asked for a stronger note to end episode 43 on. In terms of the animation, by all accounts, this was a solid episode that I imagine may have been a bit disappointing to some viewers considering the material that it adapts. However, there is far more going on behind the scenes than most would realize. In my opinion, that turns this episode into something worth celebrating rather than worrying about. The episode was both storyboarded and directed by Shinichiro Ueda, who has become a regular presence at this point and has constantly delivered strong storyboards. This episode is no exception, featuring the creative perspective shots and dynamic framing that we've come to expect from him. However, I'd be lying if I said the storyboard was the most interesting aspect of this episode. The reason is that for the first time in the history of this adaptation, we have only 3 people credited for the entire production of the episode. Hiramatsu's on the script, Shinichiro Ueda credited for storyboard and direction, and Akio Hasegawa as the sole animator. There were no other key animators, animation directors, or even second key animators involved, it seems. So what does it mean that a single animator handled all of that work for this episode? First and foremost, it once again highlights the importance of the additional 18 months of production time that the team had for Cour 4. If you remember, previous Cours struggle to complete episodes even with multiple animators working together. Here, one animator was able to take on all of these responsibilities, which shows just how significant the improvements between the Cours have been. This is also evidence that the team is clearly preparing something much bigger for future episodes. This approach is clearly a way to conserve resources, which suggests that they not only plan to raise the upcoming battles to much greater heights, but also have the flexibility to allocate staff where it matters most without causing other episodes to suffer, and this is something that was a major issue in previous Cours. More importantly though, this points towards a shift in the Bleach team's animation philosophy. We've heard many animators discuss how restrictive the directorial approach for Bleach could be in the past. Seeing a single animator given the freedom to fully adapt this material with only the director's vision as guidance suggests a clear departure from the previous style. If this approach continues, it could mean animators are given much more creative freedom when tackling the upcoming battles. Just imagine what this could lead to with talents like Yuki Sato, Hiroyuki Yamashita, or even Yoshihiro Kano if he returns. But judging the episode on its own merits, I genuinely think it was a very good entry. The art was consistently strong throughout as expected, and it featured several impressive moments such as Ichigo rapidly moving around Yhwach while still maintaining a very polished overall look, especially when compared to the weaker episodes or even the average episodes of Cours 1 and 2. This episode stands out as a respectable improvement. So that was my initial thoughts on Bleach 1000 Year Blood War episode 43. This was a fittingly explosive way to round off the opening 3 episodes of the final Cour, and it's easily the most anime original heavy episode that we've had so far. Between Orihime's incredible expanded fight, the interlinked dialogue across the Ichigo and Uryu battles, and that haunting new material surrounding Ichibei, this episode gave us so much that the manga either rushed or left out entirely. There were a couple of very minor omissions, like Ikkaku and Yumichika arriving after Kenpachi, but nothing of any real consequence was cut, and if anything, we once again received far more than the source material ever offered. Looking ahead to next week, with this episode ending on the Gerard fight really heating up and Ichigo having just revealed his Horn of Salvation form, I fully expect the anime to push deeper into both of these battles. I'm especially eager to finally see the Horn of Salvation in action, since the anime deliberately held it back this week, and with Gerard growing more and more dangerous, I imagine his clash against the captains is only going to escalate, given how much this Cour loves to rearrange and interweave its events. I'm curious to see which threads they choose to prioritize now that we are firmly past the beginning of the season. So what were your thoughts about episode 43? Did you enjoy Orihime's expanded fight against Yhwach? What are your thoughts on the huge lore reveal surrounding Ichibei and the Soul King? And were you a fan of the Vizards finally getting their expanded assault on Gerard, even if the outcome remained the same? Be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications so that you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. And lastly, thanks for making it to the end of this one, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for my manga versus anime comparison for the latest episode of Bleach.
A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.